Get ready for Real Talk with Pasha B in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Real Talk with Pasha B. We are here again, a beautiful day in Atlanta, and we are ready. I think we're ready to get into this topic, but I know Sheneka.
Hi, Pasha. How are you?
Hey, girl. How are you?
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
So, are you going to do some introductions?
I am. So, we would like to welcome Kevin. Kevin, say hi to the people.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Weld.
Hey,
Oh, we giving full government names. Okay.
He ain't scared.
Hey. Right. Kevin is our in-studio guest host. And on the phone, we have Lady Chan.
Hello.
Hello. So on today's episode of Real Talk with Pasha B, we will be discussing the challenges of dating as it relates to dating individuals with mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm. Or possibly being that person.
Possibly being that person with a mental health challenge. I like the term mental health challenge or mental health disorder as opposed to mental illness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mental illness sounds so blah.
Yeah.
So negative.
I get what you mean. I definitely feel like when it comes to like the diagnosis of mental health, it's very important. And especially when it comes to like dating, like whether they're a romantic partner or a sexual partner, I feel like, well, at least
because one doesn't necessarily mean the other, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
They're two different words because, you know, they have two different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Know. Everybody don't know.
And I feel like if you're going to be dealing with someone long-term, whether it be sexually or romantically, I really feel like, you know, talking about any diagnosed mental conditions that can affect your connection with that person, I think that definitely has to be discussed. And also just really just practicing that open, clear communication. Even though, you know, I'm personally not diagnosed with any mental health like illnesses or anything like that, but at the same time, I don't blame people who are diagnosed with mental health disabilities for not out the gate like saying, hey, I got a little bit of schizophrenia.
Right.
Or hey, I got...
Did you say a little bit?
like, hey, I got like this or that. You know what I'm saying? Because technically speaking, you're not obligated to let me know. But at the same time, you know, depending on what, like your own personal philosophy, along with that person's personal philosophy on like how communication should be within a relationship or a situationship, that's up to your, you know, thing if you want to let them know that or not. You know what I mean? And for me, as someone who's not diagnosed with a mental condition, I can't just be like, Nick, you should have told me. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's their space, it's their life, and it's their own particular mental health. I cannot push them over that cliff. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I can only be compassionate and understanding towards them, sharing that with me. So we have to also grant them the space as well to be able to speak for themselves.
Shan, what about you? What you think about
that? I've been in 5 relationships, and out of the 5, I want to say 2 of them dealt with not doing their work. And that, I think that's a main issue with a lot of people is maybe you're not like diagnosed with something from a doctor, but maybe, and I feel like everybody has their drama, which could lead to trauma, where people are doing things, accusing you of things, not dealing with their issues from how they grew up and, you know, what they saw and what they think is, oh, this is how you show love to somebody. If you don't do this, you must not love me. And dealing with all of that. If you meet somebody and they haven't done their work, anything you do to make the relationship great is not going to work. Because I went from meeting someone 15 years ago, having a great friendship, having a 2-year relationship of just bliss to that turning into 15 years of constant good times, shitty times, bullshit. And then now we have like a 2-year-old and court all last year, and now he took a plea deal and there's no communication. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you spend time with people and you have, the ups and the downs, you could have that, but if somebody's not willing to work on their shit, it's going to be pointless. It's going to be pointless. And you're going to throw years of work and time and effort away over you not being ready. And I think the key is to meet someone, spend the time, have your boundaries, know your needs, know where you're at, and be able to deal with your shit.
Mm-hmm. So do you think we have blinders on? The goggle eyes, googly eyes,
or
because
beer
we're
goggles.
so in love that we don't see the obvious.
Yes.
And we don't want to address the obvious.
Yes. And that is why a lot of people stay in relationships that they know aren't going where they want it to go, aren't growing, but they're too scared to stop and start over because they're going to look like they failed. No, you're going to look like you set a boundary for yourself. You know this is not going somewhere, and you're going to start to fix it.
I want to briefly go back to what Kevin said. So at what point in time do you think, especially in the dating situation, would it be appropriate for someone to share with you that they're going through something?
Within the first 2 to 3 months.
Well, for me, I wouldn't put like a timestamp on it. I would more so put like a feeling stamp on it, if this makes sense. Like, when you have, like, you and someone else's new situationship or romantic relationship has developed and matured a little bit more over time, and you guys have reached a new level of reality where you guys are more comfortable talking about like the intimacies of your own mental health and like the things that like you don't just say to a random stranger on the street. You actually like develop that connection a little bit more. I feel like when the both of you have mutually felt that you guys have stepped into that space, I think at that point is a time to talk about that, or at least maybe have a conversation with yourself first if you're the one that's diagnosed with the mental diagnosis, if you'd like to talk about that with them. But also operate on the philosophy that you are not obligated to tell them that. And I know that, like, some people might be like, well, damn, like, you probably should have told me. But at the same time, it's like, technically not really, because it's their own mental health.
Well, and I get that, but let me ask this question. Isn't that a part of their bag?
Like, bag in terms of what?
What they're bringing.
I don't really look at like a mental health diagnosis like a baggage.
Well, let me say this. When I say bag, so I don't even necessarily mean that with a negative hue on it. Okay. So if you have children per se, that's a bag that you're bringing in. If you have if you don't have a job, that's a bag that you're bringing in. Yeah. If there's so many different types of variables of things that you bring to the table or you bring with you when you enter a relationship. And the relationship is two-parted. So if the person that you're dating does not have the ability to deal with your condition, at what time, period, do you allow for that person to be like, I don't want to deal with this?
Well, I think when you both get to a point where y'all both know why you're entertaining each other and y'all have that conversation, and it would be appropriate and mature of you to be like, okay, if we're going to do this, let me just tell you a bit about me and what I deal with. Because the issue is when you don't be upfront about what you're dealing with or what you do deal with. You don't know if that person had a parent that dealt with someone that was depressed or someone that had a mental illness, and they're not ready to get into that. So if you didn't bring it up, and then y'all 6 months in or y'all year in, and this was never brought to the table, I feel like it's kind of stealing a person's ability to make a decision.
I think it's stealing the options. Don't take my options from me.
Yeah.
Don't take my options from me.
Because my last relationship, I knew him BK. And when I say BK, before I had kids, when I was living in New York. And we decided to try a relationship where we will be physically in each other's lives with our children. He has 2 children. I have 2 children. And he discussed with me that he suffers with depression. So I said, are you seeing a therapist? Are you taking anything about, that's supposed to help you with your depression? No. So that just told me, like, you're not ready to do your work. And I can't be over here raising 2 kids and you having 2 kids and you're not willing to do the work. So I had to end that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be with people, especially when you bring in 4 other children that are ready to do the work to make it work, because it's always going to have limits and boundaries that y'all not going to be able to cross together.
I agree. I definitely feel like, if my specific man was diagnosed with a mental disorder and has not taken on anything to help like remedy it or like, help him have a better grasp on it. I do feel like at some point, you do have to talk with me about that, because whenever an episode comes about and you don't really have a grasp on it and it really starts to affect our relationship, then I feel like that is something that I would definitely encourage you to talk with me about that. But with my statement earlier, I was more so talking about with someone who is diagnosed with a mental disorder and has already taken those steps to like having a better grasp on whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because like at that point, it's like you're doing whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you're operating as healthy as you could be for the sake of yourself and also our relationship. And I mean, and that's where I was saying, like, when it comes to being obligated to like telling someone, it's just like not really. But for me, it's like a strong, you're not obligated if you have taken all of the steps to make sure that you have a healthy grasp on like just making sure like you're moving about life healthily or as healthily as possible, And also like I cannot. And me personally, I'm not diagnosed with any mental disorder, so I can't really speak for that. But I can only speak for myself.
Yeah. And I also, we're talking about individuals who have been diagnosed, but from what I see out here in these streets, it's a whole bunch of folks that's not diagnosed. And before we kind of get into that, I just want to mention some common mental health disorders. We've already mentioned some, such as depression, but also included in that is PTSD, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, mood disorders, including anger issues. So when we're talking about individuals who we think may have undiagnosed issues or illnesses, how do you approach that conversation? Have you ever been in a situation, Chan, because you sound like you've had a few, ma'am, where you had to potentially, suggest to someone that, you may want to go lay on somebody's couch?
Did wrong.
I'm sorry. You may want to go see a therapist to address some of your issues because I cannot help you. Chan? Is she there?
Chan, are you there? Hello?
Kevin, you can go ahead and answer that while we...
Well, I feel like there's a lot of people that are undiagnosed when it comes to their mental health who may have something. So, I mean, even if, you can meet a guy on... Like you can meet a guy who you're really interested in and things may seem fine, but I mean, he may have an undiagnosed mental disorder that you probably have not picked up on. Just because like he like it's not like some really big brash like signs of something particularly does not negate the fact that there could be something, but it just shows in other ways that you may have not realized that it can manifest in.
Absolutely.
So I feel like at the very core of this subject, I feel like everyone needs to really exercise the privilege of therapy. And really like
self-care.
Yeah. It is a form of self-care. That's one of the many forms of self-care. But particularly in our Black community, it's definitely not the first, choice, which I completely hate the fact that that is the norm in our community. Because a lot of times when I do talk to our Black peers, they think of therapy as something that is very like outlandish. They think that you have to really be going through something super duper serious to go to therapy. And that's not the case at all. But going back to your question though, there can be a lot of people that are undiagnosed that has a mental disorder, but it might not be in a way that you normally see it in. You know what I'm saying? So at the core of that, I think,
or that we expect to see it in, because I think a lot of people have this idea of how that looks. It looks violent. It looks apparent, and that's not necessarily the case. There are subtleties.
Kevin, why you looking like that?
Because
he got something up here. He got something up here.
Because a lot of people think like it's like you gotta be like crazy, like stepping on the table and
right.
circle
blacking
dancing.
out, and,
like tribal dancing, all that stuff. Like you don't.
Right.
It could be the person who's bagging your groceries at Kroger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We have Chan back on the line.
Hi, Chan. We missed you.
Hey, we did. So Sheneka asked you a question.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Oh, she was not. So I was asked if you were in a situation where you felt someone potentially needed to see someone, a professional, about their behaviors. How do you approach that subject?
They need to go deal with their shit.
What Pasha said.
I always have like discussions of like substance where I would rather us sit and talk about anything. So with that, you get the stories of like how somebody was brought up, what somebody's family was, what their relationship was. And then with my 2-year-old's dad, being that I knew him for 15 plus years, in his family, his dad wasn't really around. He was the only child with his mom. And his family was a lot of pimps in Milwaukee. And
a lot of pimps? Not one, but a lot of pimps.
Several plural pimps?
That showed a lot about how he looked at women, how he treated women, how he talked to women. And over the 15 years, it was kind of like, I had to have like discussions where you can't talk to me like that, or you can't approach us like this, or the conversation could have went different if you talked to me in a different manner. And he had to learn that, which he did over time. But then you would see slight times of needing to know where you are, or him just like coming to the house and be like, you better not have no niggas, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, why are you talking about this? Like, what in your car, you driving over here, made you think about having this discussion with me out the blue? He was like, I don't know, I'm just saying. So if you sit in your and you sit in your mind and you make up these scenarios that are not real, that are not happening, but you feel like you need to be super aggressive, or you feel like you need to tell me out the blue, I'm not about to be disrespected by nobody, and I'm not about to fight nobody. Anybody disrespect me, I'm gonna shoot them in the face.
Oh, okay.
That tells me you got hella aggression. You're angry about something. You don't want to sit and discuss anything, but you want to have your slight moods where you want to say what you want to say, but you can't control the ending result of how somebody feels when you say things like that.
Yep.
Okay. So he's very aggressive and he has poor communication skills. But
yes.
Is that indicative of a mental
illness? No. But what happened is it led up to us having a child. I have an older child too, but he's always been around, and him being angry from a small issue the day before and coming to my house, leading to him threatening to shoot me in the face, choking me, punching me in my face, having both my kids there, and us having a year of going back and forth in court. Him threatening me while still having visitation with my kid, and us now having no relationship, but we have a kid. And my thing is like, all the small times that we had a discussion that I told you need to talk to somebody, that I told you maybe you need to sit and have a conversation with your dad because you feel like the black sheep out of all your dad's kids because you don't have a relationship, that's going to bubble into other things. And that's exactly what happened.
And let's not overlook the fact you said based upon his upbringing or history, it sounds like I'm not a mental health provider. So let me say that.
Yeah.
None of us
that
are mental health
disclaimer.
providers.
But it does sound like he could be suffering from some type of PTSD.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And PTSD is not something that we want to correlate with. I was raised, this happened in my past, and this is now potentially affecting. I have these types of reactions when I feel like I did in those types of situations. Also, OCD. OCD can break up a good relationship as well.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you need to have this goddamn piece of paper in this same spot every damn day, and if I move it, you got an issue with it, I'm not going to be staying around too much longer, okay? Because it's a goddamn piece of paper. But for some people, like those triggers, I was watching something. It's one of these videos that come up on Facebook where this person had compulsive OCD to the point where if he came in the house, he would have to go back to the door because the door would either need to sound a certain type of way or he would need to close the door 10, 20 damn times in order to make sure that it was shut. His significant other was right there and was like, you shut the door. He was like, nope, I got to do it again. You know what? And then what he was expecting for her to do was be supportive and go through all of this shit like, oh, I don't remember if I got the groceries from the car. She's like, you got the groceries from the car. We need to go back out there and check. How many times can I continue to do that shit with you? After 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. Now we are a year in and you won't even listen to me say to you, you brought the groceries in. No, and then you want me to go outside and check with you. I'm not checking nothing with your crazy ass.
That's where the
Pasha, crazy, really?
No.
Knowing where you at.
Yeah.
Let's show some compassion.
And there is compassion to the point where there certain things may not be something that I want to take on. Therefore, I need to know about these things before we get 20 years down the road. And I could just have been, in a situation that maybe if I would have known a little bit earlier, because again, I'm an adult as well. So any place that I remain in is a place that I choose to be in. And no, I don't think that people should in the beginning dating stages profess everything that's going on with them. You're right. It's nobody's business. But what I want to parallel or ask the question, so we expect for our significant others or people that we're dating at some point in time to disclose their health issues. And I'm not even talking about the major ones. I'm not talking about sexually transmitted. I'm not talking about any of that. So if you're dating someone who has hypertension, if you're dating someone who has diabetes, you're getting into a relationship with people like that. At some point in time, you expect for them to disclose that they have these medical conditions, right?
Right.
Sheneka's looking at me. So
I'm waiting for you to continue.
That's the question. Do you?
I never thought about it. I think it typically comes
Expect is a strong word.
Yeah. If we're getting into a relationship and you have type 2 diabetes.
Well, I think I would
diabetic.
know.
No.
Listen.
Nope.
Hear me out. Damn,
No.
Pasha. I think at some point that would come out in the wash because they're on medication. And the people I do know who have those type of illnesses, usually they just, share that type of information. But
I know people,
Kevin, I'm on your side. To expect,
I know people who have hid the fact that they have hypertension, right? Men do it all the time. Sheneka.
Hiding that you have, why would you hide that?
Because there's a side effect to the medication, honey.
Oh, that's going to come up.
No.
Maybe
but
not.
We've already talked. I got that. I caught that joke.
Y'all caught it?
Because ain't nothing coming.
Kevin's like, no.
It's like erectile dysfunction.
Yes.
Because the high blood pressure
and then
affects their ability to
come up.
Some people, and literally, I cannot speak for them, but some people definitely, from what I have seen, do feel a sense of insecurity surrounding their health. You know what I mean? No matter how quote unquote big or small it may seem to us, who are probably not diagnosed with that. But we still have to allow them to be able to feel comfortable in letting us know something about themselves on their behalf.
And that's the point that I'm bringing up. So the fact that if someone can have hypertension or diabetes, where if they are untreated or if they're not controlled, this person can fall out. This person can have a stroke, can have a coma.
That can happen.
Yeah.
But here it is. If you were to be in a relationship with someone and they did not tell you that, so they fall out, blah, 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 you don't think that you would ever, when the person's recuperating in the hospital, all that stuff, the words, you should have told me, wouldn't come out your mouth?
That you had high blood pressure? No.
Like, look, it's a responsibility factor because I've worked in corporate jobs.
Again, is a strong word.
I've worked in corporate jobs where someone had seizures and they had to let the leaders, the sales leaders know that they have seizures. The ambulance came multiple times to that job. I've worked with someone who has fallen out in a mall because they're having a seizure moment or they have bad asthma. I think personally, when you see yourself being in a situation or a place where, you know, this is like level 2 of where something could go left, let me let this person know so they know what to do. I think if you're suffering from something, then you should know when you should say something.
I want to know. It's not hypertension, diabetes. No, that's not going to change anything. But that is a condition that you have that could have a long-term and or you can go into a coma from having diabetes. Like, this is not, I got a cough or I have allergies. And allergies can be serious in itself. But what I'm saying is hypertension, diabetes, all of this stuff, this person could be driving your car one day. Let's say they got diabetes, driving your car.
Okay, bring it back around. Let's get back to the mental health. What was the correlation?
The correlation was,
she lost me. Go ahead.
So let me ask this question. So if you had a condition, you wouldn't tell, a health condition, you don't feel obligated to tell your significant other that you had?
I don't. But at the same time, I would also encourage myself to love myself enough to say, okay, if I am developing real feelings for this person and I see myself being with them long term and we're maturing as a couple together, I would encourage myself to have that conversation with them.
And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about dating. You're in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
You talking about like even like a friend? Because when you say relationship, you talking about romantic relationship, like platonic relationship?
I'm talking about a romantic dating.
Yeah. So
I'm not understanding why everybody was jumping down my throat saying that. I don't understand why. No.
So you're losing me, and I think we're blurring this whole thing when you're talking about high blood pressure related to schizophrenia. Like,
no, because
I don't care about your damn high blood pressure, but I may have a concern about your schizophrenia. That's what I'm saying.
They're both they're both conditions, though.
We're gonna go.
There's a spectrum. There's levels to this thing.
I don't think there's levels.
And
I think they just are.
That's the point that I was bringing up in the fact. Whatever it is, right? If it's affecting your health, it's affecting your well-being. Yeah. At some point in time, should you relay that to the person that you're in a relationship? But if Sheneka doesn't want to, we're going to move on. Give us some stats.
Okay.
Give us some stats.
But before we move on, I want to go back to that example that you had brought up. Because I wanted to actually think about that. Like, I wanted to like thoroughly think about that. So you were saying like, let's say like this person.
Let's use hypertension.
Hypertension?
Yeah.
Okay. So that person who had hypertension fell out and is in the hospital and woke up from a coma. And you said, damn, you should have told me this. I would probably say you could have told me this. And then I would also ask, why couldn't you tell me this?
Right.
Were you like not comfortable? Is there anything that I can do to help you feel more comfortable in relaying like your health conditions over to me?
And Kevin, I'll agree. I will change out the word should have
with could have.
Yeah. But I think the underlying thing is there either you put some sugar on it in regards to what was going on, why you didn't feel as though you could share that information. But it seems like there is a thought that you would have liked to have known that.
Yes. Wait.
Just give it to her. Just give it to her because she's not gonna let it go.
Wait, say that question one more time. Because
would you like to know if someone had a medical condition that you were in a relationship with, a romantic?
I would like to, but I would also have to respect boundaries at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that is very much so within their right to let me know if they have any like health conditions or anything like that. And of course, like if we're talking about like sexual health and stuff like that, and like my sexual health is now in jeopardized, like being jeopardized, whatever, of fucking course. Yeah. I expect you to talk to me about that right out the gate.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it's like, you have general anxiety disorder, right? Sometimes being in a crowded space makes you feel like you're about to die. You know, I would love for you to tell me that at the beginning of our relationship, but ideally whenever you're most comfortable, because literally you're the one that's going through that every time we walk into a crowded space, not me.
Right.
So I have to wait until you say something. So I would definitely, like I said, I would like to, but I would like for them to tell me, but it's really up to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why for me personally, I just practice the philosophy that, you know, if, let's say, in the future or anytime, whatever, I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, whatever the case may be, I would still encourage myself to say, like, I want to talk to this person about this. It might be a tough conversation, and it might not be a tough conversation. But I encourage myself to talk with them about that because, you know, if I was not diagnosed, I'd probably want to know my own self as well for the sake of you and also my relationship.
Gotcha. Sheneka, break down your damn stats because she got about 50 million of them.
No. So going back to what we're talking about mental health as it relates to dating. And Pasha, you brought up PTSD. So oftentimes when people talk about PTSD, they often correlate it to individuals who were in the military, who went off to war and things like that, right?
And not people who was growing up in the hood or anything like that.
Exactly.
Right.
So PTSD is essentially a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event, either through experience or witness. So you didn't even have to experience the event. You could have been a witness to it. And that would trigger some form of PTSD. So with that, I wanted to paint a picture and give you some numbers of exactly what this dating pool looks like, right? So the first thing I pulled up was the prison population. Because I think we can all agree that that might be a traumatic experience, right? Yeah. So some of the statistics I pulled up as it relates to prison population. So there are currently 1.3 million people incarcerated in state prisons. Not county, not federal, not probation, but state prisons, period. Then I broke it down just for our area. Florida, there's almost 100,000 people incarcerated. Georgia, 52,000. Texas, 136,000. New York, 51,000. California, 115,000. People in prison going through a traumatic experience. Average term that they're serving is about 5 years. When they come out, I think we can all agree that somebody on some level have experienced some level of PTSD, depression, bipolar coming out. Sexual assault. According to the statistics, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys have experienced some sort of sexual abuse before the age of 13. And 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced physical violence before the age of, throughout the course of their life. Again, these may be events that may spark some form of PTSD. Kevin, you said growing up in the hood. I know coming from Miami, when I first moved to Atlanta, I would not go to any crowded events. Too many folks out here. I can't do it, you know. I never thought of it in terms of, I might be suffering from some sort of PTSD because, you know, at home, anytime you go anywhere, there's some gunshots popping off. You have to run, you know, something's going on. So never correlated it to PTSD. And I think to your point, all of us are maybe on a spectrum, but again, there are levels to this thing, right? And how we deal with those particular issues. But this is our dating pool. Additionally, anxiety issues. We have 18% of the population, which is 44 million people over the age of 18 who suffer from some sort of anxiety disorder. Again, this is the pool of people we're dating. How do we maneuver throughout the whole dating scene, knowing that we're going to encounter these issues? Some other things I just wrote down as we were talking that I think people don't think of as a mental health disorder: body dysmorphia and narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see that a lot now with the age of social media.
Yep.
And current, I'm not going to, 45. I know a lot of people seem to think there's some form of narcissism that's involved with how he governs. So Chan, let's talk about social media and its effects on mental health. I think a lot of statistics support that social media has a negative effect, and it kind of feeds into this whole narcissistic and body dysmorphic issues that individuals may have.
I think for starters, it starts with a person knowing their limits on anything. Like, you can get alcoholic drinks at a certain age, but there's a limit to those drinks. You can smoke cigarettes, but there's a limit to how many cigarettes you should probably want to smoke, or you can smoke whatever you want to, the greenery if you choose. There's limits to everything. But if you are going onto a device, not knowing your limits and not knowing boundaries and not knowing when to step away, not to, indulge in, and you're just on here and you waiting for these likes and you waiting for these people to say something nice to you. And when the first person doesn't say anything good to you, it puts you into like a 2-week, I don't want to talk to anybody shutdown. That's a problem.
In regards to how it's portrayed on social media, or how people deal with it with social media.
It's bad on both ends. It's like nothing should have so much power to shift your mood in life. If you don't have this enough self-confidence to know that you are more than what people say or think, then that's an issue. I don't think social media is for everybody. Main reason why I refuse to get my 6-year-old a phone. Mm-hmm. When I was 6, I wasn't worried about a phone. I was outside, I was playing, I like toys, I like watching shows. These kids want cell phones at 6. And then with a cell phone, there's no limit. So they can go on TikTok, they could go on Facebook, they could go on IG, they can see whatever video, Google, whatever the word they want to, and get all the information. I think anybody that uses a cell phone or the internet or social media has a responsibility to know what their limits are. And if you are at an age where you do not understand limits or boundaries, you should not have it.
Well, okay, so the child who has the phone was given the phone by their parents. I feel like the responsibility of knowing like the limits and stuff should fall onto the parents to be able to enforce that. I know that with like any phone, you can put like parental limits on like what like apps they can have access to or download and stuff. So, I understand that like a lot of younger people, including myself, were definitely raised in an era of the internet. And of course, the manifestation of cell phone and laptops and computers happened after that. And it has become very popularized and also the norm. But at the same time, it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that the children are using phones with guidelines and limitations already enforced onto it. Mm-hmm. But going back to the original question about the whole body dysmorphia thing and also narcissism, that I have no clue about, because I personally don't know. Like, I'm not a psychiatrist. You know what I'm saying? So
but you've come across some narcissistic ass people.
I think so. With narcissistic tendencies, possibly, yeah. I don't know if they're diagnosed with it.
On the spectrum. They're on the spectrum.
Right, it's a spectrum.
And body dysmorphia, even if you don't know any personally, on social media. I just watched a video yesterday where this woman has, and I don't know, I think she said in the US bra size, she was like a 34ZZ. right? So she has implants and she has expanders, and I think she's able to pump her shits up or to adjust as need be. But so a 34 frame is like, it's a small person. I ain't no 30. Kevin, I ain't no 34.
You might, the circumference around your rib cage may be a 34 equivalent to what a woman. So that's a smaller person.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Z, let's just say, I'm a long way from a Z, and I'm rather endowed, but that's like
it's extreme. And so the point with that is these people are looking at their bodies in manners or in ways that everybody else wouldn't see them.
I was about to say normal.
I was, but then I took that back. Such as people who, body dysmorphia also happens with people who used to, let's say, be overweight. And then they've lost the weight and they still see a fat person. Or if someone who is dieting excessively and they are nothing but skin and bones, and everybody else can see that they're skin and bones and they don't see it.
Okay, now I'm glad that you gave an example and defined that. But I still want to piggyback off of the original example that you said. You were watching something on social media, and there was a woman that has a very well-endowed chest, and she has surgeries to make it more bigger. Or whatever. But you see, at the same time, I mean, that could just be her wanting to do that for herself, and not really a body dysmorphia kind of thing. Because, for example, and arguably speaking, let's say someone wants to have, I don't know, breast reduction because they want to have breast reduction, not even for aesthetic purposes, just for the sake of fulfilling their own desires amongst their own bodies. Because we all own our own bodies. And that's the philosophy that I operate on. And I recognize that as the truth for everyone. Everyone owns their own bodies. So it's like, if you want to get breast reduction, I cannot say, girl, you have body dysmorphia.
You can't.
And let me just read this specifically. It's a mental illness involving obsessive focus on a perceived flaw in appearance. So I think obsessive is the operative word there.
Obsessive focus.
Yeah, on a perceived flaw.
Gotcha.
So...
And then that word flaw, I think is kind of subjective, but I think the obsessiveness of whatever it is. So with this person that I'm talking about, she was married, got a divorce, had 2 breast augmentations within a 3-month period, and has continued to augment her breast to the point where your frame but putting ZZ 6,400 cc's of silicone into your body, that's not even the way your body's built to handle something like that. So, and she continues to want to increase the size. That's why she has the expanders, because now she has to put these things to allow her skin to stretch in order to continue to go up in size.
Okay, right. Pause. This is my issue now. I remember when people were getting plastic surgery because of a medical need. Plastic surgery has gone from a medical need to how much you're willing to pay. And I feel like just a lot of people's responsibility, as far as the doctor, as far as the person that's saying, hey, I have no medical education on where the limit is. Can you do this for me? They're not going in there putting that silicone in themselves. Them doctors are. So when doctors and insurance companies draw a line, then people are going to have to live within those boundaries. The thing is, nobody has boundaries anymore. Everybody has a price.
That's true. To certain things.
I think a lot of doctors have turned down patients before.
It's just like,
but they'll go someplace else to get it. Like there is no real standard of, because what she can't get done in the United States, she could go to another country and get done. We're here, the United States, and this is, I know we're going off a little bit off topic, but here in the United States, a doctor may say, I'm not going to put any more silicone into your body. Like there's going to be a risk if we continue to do blah, blah, blah. She could go to
DR,
to the Dominican. Yeah, and they'll probably put goddamn 2 bottles of saline in her, 2 gallons of saline in her if that's what she wants to, because there's a cost associated with it. So going back to Sheneka, what you were saying about the obsessiveness of it all. And I think people have obsessed with plastic surgery, depending on what it is. But even dealing with that from a dating perspective, or let's go back to the population of people that we may encounter. So body dysmorphia could be one.
So body dysmorphia, narcissism. So what I looked that up, it's a disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance. Of course, we all believe we're important, but some of the symptoms include excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, and inability to handle criticism and a sense of entitlement. That's social media all day long. We were talking about PTSD, anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders, they're increasing significantly, even with children. There's a lot of reasons people have floating out there as to why it's increasing. And I don't think we need to go into that, but I think the point is it's a thing. We are dealing with this more and more so, I think, from a dating perspective. And one of the things I heard, you didn't say it, but I heard you say it, Kevin, and reading in between what you were saying is that line. Like, where is that line between this being a mental disorder and this just being a thing? That's what I heard you say. You didn't say it, but that's what I heard you say.
Like a thing that's like not diagnosed. Or it could just be something that's not a medical condition, but it's just a thing.
Yeah. So if when she was talking about body dysmorphia, maybe I just want bigger breasts. That doesn't mean I have a body dysmorphia.
Right. But also at the same time, that does not negate the fact that you also have to have self-responsibility to make sure that you are making healthy decisions for yourself. Because I mean, if your doctor here in Atlanta, Georgia said, if she said to you, hey, Johnny, listen, you cannot get bigger breasts or else your health is going to be impacted. And then Johnny wants to fly out to Sweden or Luxembourg to get those silicones planted. Then, I mean, it's still up to Johnny's responsibility to be like, yo, like, do I really want to do this for myself or no? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it falls back onto self-responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
So even with dating, so how does that look? So if you're dating someone and let's take it to something that's more reasonable, such as somebody's in the gym 4 or 5 hours a day. Bulking up.
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week, bulking up, just getting bigger and bigger. At what point do you say, baby, I think you're doing too much, baby? You're doing too much. You good?
You know...
Do you know somebody like that, Kevin?
Yeah.
See, it was there.
That's the gays, honestly. But, like, I mean, really and truly, I feel like, you see, for me, I personally don't really, and I thank God, the fact that I don't really deal with anybody who's, like, obsessive about going to the gym. Although I have been in not really close relationships because we're not a thing no more. But I did talk to this one guy who, I've noticed that before, he was very lean and skinny, like back in like 2017. And then I remember a few months after I met him, he started going to the gym. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I would watch his stories on Snap. So I was like, all right, that's cool. He's consistent with working out and all that good stuff. Then, I started to notice a little bit stuff here and there. I started to notice that, he because he would repost like other guys that he finds attractive on his own his own Snap. So of course, like it was like of guys who were very muscular and stuff. For me, being the intuitive girl that I am, I was like, okay, clearly this nigga is like some gym head who is very like gung-ho about building his body, because every fucking day, I kid you not, like he was in the gym posting it, and then also like posting some shady stuff towards people who don't go to the gym too. So for me, that was just like, okay. So, he hit me up one day, and
we about to get the tea, y'all.
I wanted to push the buttons because I know this is gonna piss him off. I was like, he was like, hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, nothing much, chilling. What about you? He was like, nothing, I'm about to head to the gym, blah, 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 blah. I was like, I hate the gym, even though I don't hate the gym. But I was like, I hate the gym. And he was like, what? What do you mean? Why do you hate the gym? I was like, because I'm just not obsessed about going to the gym and working out. Like, I'm just not, in this superficial, like, kind of way that's about going to working out, like going to the gym to work out. And of course, it was like a tit for tat. But one thing that was exposed during that conversation was the fact that he felt that if you did not work out, you was one lazy son of a bitch, basically. Mm. And for me, I was like, it's so crazy because I remember a time where you weren't this macho ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you was very fucking skinny as skin of this goddamn pencil. Like, but literally, like, that's just, I was like, wow. But as far as body dysmorphia goes, I mean, because I don't know.
I think that would maybe go into like narcissism.
That's probably, yeah.
Maybe so.
On the spectrum of narcissism. So again, I think there are levels to this thing. I think most people can possibly deal with the one end of the spectrum. But when you start getting over into the other end, I think that's when the eyebrow is raised.
And the fact, let me not say and the fact that we encounter people like this, what part of the spectrum they're on a daily basis, right? And so from a dating perspective, how do we navigate dealing with, there's probably going to be a high population of people who are going to display some type of narcissistic behavior, whether they be using social media in a way that's unhealthy, because that's an avenue in itself that can be correlated to something either from a mental health condition, or it could just be something that's just too much of. We have the pool of people, like you said, who have been to jail, who have experienced some type of trauma. Jail could be trauma in itself. When we put these numbers, abuse, sexual, physical, all of that stuff, and let's not negate the fact that mental health sometimes originates from no trauma at all. It could be
a chemical imbalance,
in itself.
Congenital.
So where do we set our boundaries to be safe in dating, so that we know what we're going to deal with, what we're not going to deal with, what we're open to, what we're not open to, what we'll receive, what we won't receive? How do we set those boundaries?
I think Chan made a very good point earlier in the show when she spoke about communication. First of all, I think we need to take the googly eyes off, and approach it for what it is. In this moment, can I deal with this thing, whatever that thing is? Can I deal with it? If it makes your booty itch, the conversation needs to be had.
You sure that ain't just a dirty booty?
No. Some people make your butt itch like, oh my God, you're so irritating. And address it. And if you can't deal with it, if that behavior never changes, this is just Sheneka speaking, if that behavior never changes, can I deal with it? And if the answer is no, then you need to go ahead and part ways. As far as a relationship type, you can still maintain a platonic thing if that's what you want to do. But going forward as a couple, this isn't going to work out.
And what about awareness? Just being aware of some of the information that we've shared today, right? Knowing that there are people who are going through things, whether they be diagnosed or not diagnosed. And being, as Kevin said, showing compassion, right? Being understanding, being open, and being open and honest enough to do no harm to someone in a situation like that. So let's say they haven't revealed it, but you've kind of, with communication and things like that, identified that this may not be something that you want to do. It's okay to break it off.
Yes.
And I've said this before, breaking up with somebody or cutting something off with somebody is not the worst fucking thing in the world. I think it should be handled in a certain way. And then to reciprocate that, if people who are listening, diagnosed, undiagnosed, I think getting to the point in which you are comfortable, or at the time when you are comfortable to share I think that you should share. And I think you should be open, honest, and aware that because there's somebody else that's involved in the relationship, they may decide that they don't want to deal with it. And at that point in time, being okay with that as well. And if it morphs into a regular friendship, or this was just an experience that we had, we shared good times, but we came to our fork in the road and we needed to go our separate ways, be okay with that.
Absolutely. And I think people need to kind of utilize some of the resources that's available to them. I know a lot of employers offer employee assistance programs. In addition to there seems to be a lot of online therapy outlets or venues that I've found. So you can use that. I also think friends help.
I was going to say that.
Friends. And what I found is just going through life, a lot of people don't have friends, Pasha.
No, a lot of people don't have.
A lot of people don't have close friends that they can confide in.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. So that kind of adds to whatever issues they're going through. You making this face, Kevin? People don't have friends.
No, wait, I'm just trying to understand. When you say friends help, as far as like diagnosing a condition?
No. In some cases...
Hold on, let me mute this shit because nobody wants to hear all of that phlegm in her throat.
Oh my God.
Are you talking about friends just being there for...
That was a remnant of my Chick-fil-A.
I think she was talking about friends being there for people and being honest. Because I was going to say...
or just having somebody to talk to.
Well, how about this? How many of us as friends feel as though we are true friends, that if something was happening to someone you identified, somebody's going through tough times, you are actually there for someone. There's a difference between you calling someone and you asking them how they're doing. The normal response and what we're all comfortable with is, I'm good. Are you prepared for the person who tells you that they're not good?
Hell yeah. Because
a lot of people aren't.
To me.
A lot of people are. I'm going to tell you. The normal reaction, if I call Sheneka, hey, Sheneka, how you doing? Hey, Pash, how you doing? And if I was to say, you ask me how I'm doing, and I'll be like, I'm not doing well. A lot of people don't know what to do with the I'm not doing well. So what happens after that conversation?
I asked you if you want to talk about it and if you want to expand on that.
What about how many people do you know are able to have that conversation?
Not a lot. But that's why I hate when people in public be like, how are you doing? And I tell them for real, I'm not doing good, but I'm just here. Because sometimes people need a different response to understand that, well, maybe that's a question I shouldn't be asking somebody that I really don't care about how they're doing. It's fine to just say hello. But I think any relationship needs that recycled energy. Like if I sat here and I listened to you vent for the last 3 days, if I call you 3 weeks from now and I'm not in the best place, can you sit there and listen to me vent?
And sometimes it's just a matter of listening. And if you can't assist past that, advise them to resources that may be beneficial to them. I mean, I've even offered my EAP from my workplace. Hey, look, I can't help you, but you can use this.
Yes, you're right. And I also want to, I personally, if I could give a hug to Chan through the phone, I would. Because I want to say, like, thank you for being you and thank you for being real. Because when you tell people, your honest truth, like, today's not such a good day, but I am just here. You're helping to reinforce the fact that we live in a real world where with real people, and not every day is a happy day for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, not every day is happy-go-lucky. So, you know what I'm saying? So I really like that you did that because that encourages me to be a little bit more honest when I'm not having such a vibrant day. And someone asks me how I'm doing, and I just tell them, girl, I'm not really feeling today as much as I could be. And that's actually something that I do say, actually. So I've been doing that. But yeah, I like that because it's truthful.
It is truthful. And I think it allows, like you said, for people to realize that it's okay with not always being okay.
Hell yeah, the fuck? That would be unrealistic if we was just happy all day, every day. We're humans. Do you know what I mean? We're all a work in progress.
Oh,
Yes.
So, Shanique, we're about to wrap things up. You got anything else for us?
Well, I would like to say something. I want to thank everyone for listening out today. And I also want to personally thank Chan for calling us today, as well as Pasha and Sheneka for inviting me to talk with you guys about this subject. Also, if you guys would love to check out my YouTube channel and contact me on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Fopolo, FAUXPOLO. And on YouTube, I'm Kevin Wealth TV. That's KEVIN WEALTH TV. And
Let's tell them a little bit more about how, you are actively trying to raise people's vibrations and their vibes. No, I'm serious. Like after talking about mental health,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? They may need to have an we all need outlets of good vibrations and good vibes. So talk a little bit about your channel.
Yes, but let me say this first. Psychological help is different than spiritual help. That is the first and foremost thing. When you have to have yourself psychologically help, get yourself professional psychological help. Now, for my television channel on YouTube, that specifically is lifestyle and also a lot of different thought-provoking topics that I talk about on my channel, and also a lot of manifestation tips and tricks as well. So when I say raising people's vibrations, it's helping them to be able to understand life from a different and higher perspective, and helping to give them tools where it's not really draining to like want to achieve your goals and stuff. It's like encouraging in a sense. And I have I have so many different ways of doing that on my channel. But also, I talk a lot about blockchain technology, which is like Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrencies, and the marriage of that with spirituality and the Black community as well. So it's a lot of different things, but you guys can definitely check out my content. And also reach out to me on Instagram if you'd like. I love today. Like, this was really good.
Okay. Thank you. And Chan, tell them about yourself.
Well, you can check me out at She Gets It Podcast on Apple, Castbox, Spotify.
Yes, She Gets It.
You should get me on IG at she_gets_it_pod. And my website is www.whoisshan.com. And today is just all about, getting the information and the knowledge. There's no reason why someone should be out here in life saying, I don't know how. There's too many resources. And that's when I like podcasting for that reason. There's so much information. Everything's out there. You're able to reach someone a million miles away and get feedback on something you didn't know any clue about. So just sharing everything that everyone said today help probably 100 more people. And as long as we keep sharing and we keep sending and we keep texting and we keep making these videos, this is an example of how social media helps.
Gotcha. And I want to say that today is the first time that we, as Real Talk with Pasha B, me and Sheneka, has had an opportunity to collab with another podcaster and another creative, I'm going to say, on a official level. So we want to thank Kevin and Chan for sharing this platform with us. If you have not already liked, subscribed, and shared the Real Talk with Pasha B podcast, please do so. We are currently now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also check the podcast out on the website, which is ordinarypeoplemedia.com. And again, thank you guys for sharing your time and being very candid with us. This was a dope session. So this probably won't be the last time that you'll hear from Kevin and or Chan. Hopefully they'll come back to visit us soon.
I will.
Yes.
All right. But until next time, y'all, peace.